Hello everyone and welcome to PlatformCon 2024. My name is Raffaele Spazzoli. I am a Senior Principal Architect at Red Hat and also Chair at the CNCF Task Storage. And today I would like to talk to you about building an internal developer platform on OpenShift with Humanitec. As we probably know at this point, the reasons why we want to build a developer platform, they mostly are rooted in the fact that the developer experience for our developers and when they build application internally to large organization is often not very good, sometimes really miserable, because they experience all the things that you can see at the bottom of this pyramid, like ticket ops. Very often a lot of cognitive load dropped on them, so it's very hard for them to be able to use the technology effectively. Low standardization, slow processes. So, how do we solve all of these problems? Their answer is typically with more standardization and more automation. That has been like that for a while now. But I want to try to talk about what is different, what I think is different um, with internal developer platform. But if we do that, I'm going to do that in the next slide. But if we build an internal developer platform, in the end, the impacts is better time to market, better cost management, and higher speed of innovation. So, what is that is different this time? Because we have been trying to solve this problem of improving developer efficiency for a long time, right? And we know that the answer is between standardization and automation. What is different this time? For me, the way I look at this is that this time we're asking the infrastructure team to take the developer's perspective and really think about the developer experience. So their job is not anymore to build reliable and scalable infrastructure, right? Which of course they still have to do, but they also now have to make sure that the flow of developing, all the processes around developing are easy, are simple and seamless for the developers. So we have to take the developer's point of view into account. With this change, we change the name of the infrastructure team and we call them now platform engineering team. That's fine. But this is really what seems to me is changing. And of course, we did all the technologies that they're all evolving, but the main change is this new requirement for the platform team. And so, if we think about the developer experience, what should we be thinking about? I've tried here to um, express what I call the four pillars of a good developer experience. Right, one is onboarding to the platform. That could be onboarding of an application, onboarding of a developer, onboarding of a team. Um, but it's the first impression that you get on the platform. The onboarding process should be seamless, fast. The provisioning of your environment, the provisioning of your credential, of your secrets should all be automated. And yeah, my experience is that if you get the onboarding process down correctly, you also have to fix many things down the line, and everything else becomes easier afterwards. And the next pillar is the code time, right? So develop the also called the inner loop, which is what the developers do many times a day. They code, they run the code locally, right? Or they run the code and they debug and they test it and they see if it works correctly. And the faster they can do that, the more productive they are, right? Um, but with containers, there is a sort of conflict of interest between running the code quickly on your laptop and running it in a way that is similar to production. So perhaps in a container or in a pod or in a namespace, right? All of these things, if you want to really run the code in a similar way as when it's in production, then it takes more time. But so then your inner loop is slower. So we have to find a way to make that experience work well. Also including the dependencies, right, of your code. It could be that you have a database. It could be that you have uh, a messaging, some other services. Everything needs to be available when we run the inner loop. And the next um, pillar is the outer loop, or CI/CD, or I call it build time here. But it's what takes the commit with the new code, right, to production. All of that flow should be as seamless as possible, um, possibly with a straight through pipeline when that is possible in certain organization where that is possible. The next piece is the runtime. Runtime is about being able to deploy, having an environment, being able to deploy the application, and also with everything that is needed to run the application. So that could be things, if we think about containers and Kubernetes, that could be things inside the cluster, inside the namespace that we have, but also outside of the cluster. Typically, what we see is that we need perhaps certificates. We need a global load balancer. We may need to punch some holes in the firewall for outbound communication, and perhaps the dependencies that we were talking about at inner loop time. Perhaps we still need those dependencies, and perhaps they're running outside of the namespace. On top of that, we want observability out of the box. That should be part also of the capabilities that our platform gives us. So I've tried to map all these capabilities, also working with the CNCF, with the work that was done in the CNCF application and tag. I tried to map this capability and some of the processes that we need to think about when building a developer experience. For time's sake, I'm going to go a little bit fast on this slide, but at the bottom layer, like to have just an ability to run a workload, we want to have some infrastructure as a service capability, an identity provider, something that manages credentials, and the observability. Because, like I said before, you can't go to production without some level of observability. In red, you see the capability. In green, you see the processes that you can build if you have those capabilities. So you can build an environment as a service capabilities, ability to provision environment on demand, some onboarding experience, credential as a service, and monitoring. The next step is to have some CI tools, CI and CD tooling. So here we have the Git and ability to version code, CI tool, CD tool, a way to store artifacts, and a way to store images and scan, and also some security tool on the images. And if we have that, we can essentially have our build and deploy as a service processes, and perhaps some level of trusted supply chain, trust of the supply chain out of the box, embedded in the pipeline. And the last level where we really start more looking at the developer experiences when we build a portal, when we have better IDE integration of the IDE with all the other processes to get better inner loops. We have start to have progressive deployments, so more advanced way of doing deployments or rollouts. And we have integration, middleware integration, and external resources integration. And if we do that, then we can have better onboarding. We can start thinking about the golden paths and managing the dependencies when they are outside of our namespace. So we could now map all of this to tools, right, to actual products. But the point that I would like to make with this slide is probably there is more, but this to me was the minimum viable platform. But the point I'm trying to make with this slide is that building a platform is a large integration exercise with many tools, and then once you integrate the tool, you have to build processes around these tools. So how do we think about building these processes and this platform in such a way that we can actually scale, and we can do it at scale? Because my my impression is that we are in a large migration right now, where we are migrating um, old virtual machine based software essentially to new containers, right? I think we're going to be in this migration for a while, and at the end of the migration, the majority of the workloads will be in containers. So we need to think about building these platforms at scale. And when we think about a process that we build around the platform, if we think about then some level of adoption, some metrics of adoption. For example, here I have number of users, but it could be number of cluster, it could be number of teams, and we think about the cost of maintaining that process as we scale out with our scale out metrics here. If we plot that cost, the plot should look like the green line. So where at some point it doesn't grow anymore as the success of our platform grows. If it looks like the red line where there is some level of proportionality, that means that the more we are successful, the more the cost, and which is unsustainable in real organizations. So that's our objective, to have this asymptotic line to a constant number of FTE, let's say, if that's how we measure the cost. Not easy to do, but again, the solution is standardization, automation, and self-servicing. And on top of that, some other design principles for our platform are uh, standardization, automation, but also the usage of golden paths. So golden path is a way to provide a direct way to production for our software, for the software the developer build, where everything is already pre-designed for you and standardized by the platform team. So if we can do that and do it in a way that doesn't force developers into a cage, that's a win. So the main announcement that I wanted to do, that I wanted to make today, is that Humanitec and Red Hat, we have partnered together to build a reference architecture of running Humanitec on OpenShift. And so, with the thing that we said before, OpenShift and some of the Red Hat products can be the building block, can provide the capabilities to build your developer platform, but Humanitec is the glue logic that brings everything together. It simplifies that large integration exercise that I was talking about before, right? So in this diagram here, you can see our way of expressing the architecture of this reference architecture. We have Developer Hub as the portal of our platform. I will talk a minute about Developer Hub later. Then we have Score as the workload definition language, and we have a registry and the CI pipeline. Here you see a ECR and GitHub, but it could be something else. It's easy to swap out. And then we have the orchestrator, which brings together the resource definitions and the workload definition into something that the platform can deploy. And then it will deploy to an OpenShift namespace. It will deploy what the resulting decision to an OpenShift namespace, and it's a way that Humanitec uses to model environments. And then you can also have more dependencies with other feature, more resource definitions using some capability of OpenShift, and not limited to OpenShift. But obviously, if you're using OpenShift, you could easily leverage these capabilities from the networking side, from the data side, and from the middleware stack that we have. And at the bottom, we have observability out of the box and security with Keycloak, Vault, Keycloak, and Vault. Okay, so just to delve a little bit deeper in some of the concept here of Humanitec, Score is our workload definition. This is a very simple language that it's the only thing that the developers need to learn to use Humanitec, and it allows them to define at a very high level what they need for the workload that they want to run. Um, this will be expanded by the orchestrator into several manifests, depending on what the platform engineers have defined. And then we have the resource definition, which is a way to for the platform engineers to define what are the building blocks that the workloads can use. So in this case, for example, we have a definition of a Redis, so a cache that would be deployed in certain environment, right? There is a concept of matching criteria where a certain resource is only deployed in certain environment when the criteria match. So if the workload makes use of the resource Redis, then it will. This is the definition that it's going to be used when the workload is deployed in staging. And then we have the orchestrator, which is the piece that brings everything together. It will take the score file. It will take the environment definitions and the environmental definition and the resource definition, bring everything together and deploy to an environment. On top of that, for the portal of the platform, we have decided to use Developer Hub in this reference architecture. So Developer Hub is another glue logic type of thing where it's not glue logic, but it brings together into a single pane of glass all the tools that are used by the developers. It can do that via a plugin system. So here it's explained as extensive and modular, but there is a very long list of plugins for developer tools that can be supported in Developer Hub, and they would be some information from the tool is displayed in a single pane of glass, which makes it easy for the developer to browse the software that they have. Fundamentally, Developer Hub is an application catalog, so you see all the applications that are under management inside the portal, and you can get more information about what's happening to the application via all of these plugins. We support it at Red Hat, and some other things that it enables is self-services and easy onboarding onto the platform via its scaffolding and templating capability. And it also has a nice feature that many organizations appreciate. It's sometimes even the driver for the initial adoption of this product, which is an easy way to manage documentation for the applications that are in the catalog. Through Developer Hub and the Humanitec Orchestrator, we can enable the concept of golden path. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but I would like to point out that with the Humanitec approach to golden path, we can actually be at the highest maturity models of golden path. Very often we see golden path where there is a template somewhere, and you run the template, you get a copy of the result, and that's maybe it's your pipeline or it's your starting point for the deployment manifest. But then, as in everything with software, the golden path evolves, and you have a copy of many versions before, and you have no way to upgrade to the newest version. Instead, with approach that Humanitec have, you have a way to upgrade your golden path, upgrade your current model that was generated, your current manifests that were generated by a golden path many versions ago to the latest and greatest version that the platform engineers team have provided. And so you can stay essentially current with the standardization that your organization is deciding. So if you're interested in this, Red Hat, like I said before, Red Hat and Humanitec are partnering. We would like to propose this solution to you, where you customers that already have OpenShift can orchestrate it with Humanitec now and quickly build a developer platform on top of it. And customers that have Humanitec, they can attach an OpenShift cluster to an existing Humanitec platform and let the Humanitec platform orchestrate it. So if you are interested in this kind of approach, please contact either Red Hat or Humanitec, and we will try to make you successful together. Thank you very much, and happy platform engineering.